Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today is going to be my Wandavision episode 5 review. So this episode is set in the 80s and it is the longest episode of the series so far, sitting at 42 minutes long. We get to see Billy and Tommy as babies and they can actually age themselves up, which was a really cool aspect to the show. We see them go from newborns to 10 years old. We also got to see Vision's dog from the comics named Sparky, and there is a crazy cameo at the end of this episode. So the way I want to structure this review is talking about the three perspectives of the show, which is Vision, Wanda, and Sword. So starting out with Vision, we actually find out how he became alive again. So he was actually being held in a Sword facility, and Wanda broke in, took him, and resurrected him, which I actually predicted. And this show is all about predictions. You just guess what happens, and if it does happen, you're like, oh my god, I'm a genius. So Vision in this episode really starts to question a lot of things. Like in the previous episode, he kind of realized there was a couple things that weren't adding up. But in this episode, he goes like hardcore, asking questions to a few people and really questioning Wanda. And he gets a lot of information this episode. There was this really weird scene at the beginning of the episode when Agnes is talking to Wanda, and the script doesn't go according to plan, and she looks at Wanda and says, "Do you want me to take that again?" Basically saying like, hey, do you want me to redo this scene? And Vision is just in the background like, what the heck? And this just really spirals him to just question everything. He goes to work and actually takes Norm out of the trance, which is caused from Wanda's spell, finds out that essentially everyone is under this spell and acting a certain way. Then he gets access to an email from Sword saying that this whole thing is called the Maximoff anomaly, and this just really makes him think, Wanda's behind everything, Wanda's doing something bad, and it just causes a lot more conflict. And I loved Vision's perspective of this episode because he just gets so much information and realizes, he can take people out of those trances just by touching them, which we see in a trailer. He actually does that to Agnes, which is in the Halloween episode. And I think every episode he's going to get more info and eventually have to fight Wanda or like stop her or stop someone who's doing this to her. But it was really cool to just watch Vision be like, whoa, what the heck? Like there's a whole bunch of stuff going on behind the scenes and now we get to see him discover it. Now we've got to talk about Wanda herself. So the first thing I want to say is Elizabeth Olsen is doing a crazy good job. The way she portrays Wanda being upset, being scared, being confused is very good, and I definitely think she took her acting level up another notch with this series. The best part, hands down, was when she confronted Sword for putting a drone in her world. She just walks right through the barrier and just throws a drone at them and is like, get the heck out of here, leave me alone. And you could tell she was so upset. And I swear her accent came back for a split second. Like it really sounded like that Sokovian accent was brought back for whatever reason, and then it just like drifted away. I'm not entirely sure about that, but it definitely sounded like it. And it was really cool to see Wanda, be a parent to Tommy and Billy, and also all of the conflict that she now has with Vision, because he's questioning her all the time and she's not even trying to like rewind it anymore and avoid it. She's literally just taking it head on and starts to fight with Vision. And I think we probably will see a Scarlet Witch versus Vision fight in this series, and we slowly start to see Wanda, develop that breakdown even further, especially because everyone's kind of finding out what's going on and she obviously didn't want that to happen. So this is going to get even more interesting, and I think she's going to slowly lose it a little bit more throughout the next episodes. Okay, now let's talk about Sword. So from their perspective of this whole episode, it starts with Monica waking up. She just did a bunch of tests and now she's talking to Jimmy and Darcy, and they realize Wanda is controlling a lot of what's happening in this little world, and that she's also rewriting reality, which a lot of people predicted already. The craziest part about the whole Sword story here is that we actually learn that something is going on with Monica because her body scans came up blank, which leads me to believe she will become Photon from the Marvel Comics. And it's almost kind of confirmed because in one of the episode promo images, she's actually wearing a costume that looks really similar to the comic one. And then she also says that she wants to get back into Westview and she's going to use lead for photons, which is what her superhero name is in the comics, Photon. So I think that was just a little hint to confirm that she will have powers eventually. Another interesting part to the whole Sword story here is that Hayward labels Wanda as a terrorist, which means he is going to go like full force at her now. And maybe he's going to need some outside help, possibly even Doctor Strange, we have no idea. But it's going to be kind of cool to see like an internal conflict between Sword. You've got like Monica, Jimmy, and Darcy, which think Wanda is still good. And then you have Hayward basically controlling the whole Sword organization, thinking that she's a terrorist. So it's going to be pretty pretty cool seeing them kind of butt heads. The last thing I want to talk about regarding S.W.O.R.D. in this episode is that there was possibly a Fantastic Four Easter egg. Now, when Monica was figuring out how to get back into Westview, she's like, oh, I know an aerospace engineer that might be able to help us. And we know they planted that astronaut seed in the last episode, which a lot of people thought meant that the Fantastic Four was going to be some of those astronauts part of S.W.O.R.D. And the aerospace engineer that she could be talking about could potentially be a Fantastic Four member like Reed Richards. No idea, but I know in an interview that Paul Bettany did, he said that in the series there is a big cameo by someone that he's always wanted to work with. Imagine John Krasinski just walks onto set wearing a S.W.O.R.D. uniform and he's actually Reed Richards. That would just be insane. Please give me that. So I'm really hoping that it is Reed Richards, but it could just be another character. Now let's talk about that big cameo at the end of the episode. So we hear a knock on the door and Wanda and Vision are fighting, and then Wanda's like, oh, I didn't do that. Let me go check the door. She opens it up and it's actually Pietro, but from a different universe. It's from the Fox X-Men universe. It's Evan Peters, and Darcy goes, what? She recast Pietro? And I was like, okay, this is how the multiverse starts. So there's some theories out there that he might have been plucked from another universe to fulfill that love of having a brother. Because in the episode, she also says that she can't or she won't bring people back from the dead. Now, Vision is an exception because he's a robot, so I don't think she can bring the Quicksilver back from the MCU. So maybe somehow using the multiverse, she brought in another Pietro / Quicksilver from the Fox universe. And I think this makes sense because we know Deadpool is going to be in the MCU, and I think there's going to be some way that some X-Men characters come into the main Marvel universe, or there's some other theories that he could just be Mephisto, but who knows really. There's just so many questions with this series. Like every episode it seems like we get answers, but then even more questions. So overall this was a really good episode. I just love having three perspectives to the whole WandaVision story, and it seems like every episode is better than the last. So I'm super excited for the Halloween episode next week, and I'm sure that's going to be the best one, especially because a lot of the footage from that episode that was in the trailers seems to be some pretty big and pivotal moments, so I'm super excited. I just can't wait to see Vision wake Agnes up from this whole spell and find out how Vision was brought back to life. But anyways, guys, that is it for my thoughts on episode 5. I thought it was really good. Leave a comment down below of what you guys thought about the episode. And also, do you think this is the intro to the multiverse right here, bringing Quicksilver from the X-Men movies? Or do you think this is just Mephisto and a little nod to Evan Peters? Personally, I'm hoping that this is the start of the multiverse, but I could be wrong. And I'm really hoping some more Fantastic Four Easter eggs, or possibly just having John Krasinski pop up in the show happens. But that is it. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you like and subscribe. I hope you guys all have a great day, and I will see you guys in the next video.